Hello, everyone. This is Natalie Lenning with Family Search, and welcome to today's live webcast from the Family Search Middle East and North Africa team. We really are grateful for you joining us today, and we have two very special guests from the Arab American National Museum. And today they're going to tell us about 4 different resources that we can use to learn about our ancestors or progenitors, family members who immigrated to the U.S. What information can we find out about them once they've arrived here? I know I'm super excited to learn more about that because even though my family came here as, I guess, first generation immigrants, we had cousins, if you will, or cousins of grandparents who came to the United States way back in the late 1800s and early 1900s. And as we know, communication was so different back then. People wrote letters for a while. Phone was so inaccessible that oftentimes people lost track of these family members. And so I know for me, somebody who's really interested in kind of building my family tree and learning what happened to these extended family members, I've been looking for resources to find out about them. What happened to them? Where did they go? Where do they live? Who are my other cousins? So I'm really excited to have George and Matt here with us to tell us more about this. Before we get started, let me just tell you a little bit about both George and Matt here today. So Matt Stiffler is the director of oral narratives at the Arab American Museum, and he is he's the the research and content manager at the Arab American National Museum in Dearborn, Michigan. He has a PhD in American culture from the University of Michigan, where he's also a lecturer in Arab and Muslim American studies. He's also a board member of the Arab American Studies Association and sits on the executive board of the Michigan Humanities. He also likes to write about food and about identity. That's really great. Maybe you like to cook too, Matt. George is a Clevelander born and raised with Palestinian roots and originating both from the Old City of Jerusalem as well as from Ramallah. George holds a BA in International Relations and a minor in Arabic. He's also a community historian at the Arab American Museum, again, specializing in the Arab American narrative with oral histories, and the director and chairman of the American Federation of Ramallah, Palestine, and Ramallah's Preservation Project, where he specializes in preserving the historical and cultural heritage of the original Ramallah people. So all 3 of us, George, Matt, and I, all have ancestors and family that is of the Middle East origin. I'm sure probably shaped a little bit of our interest in this area. So welcome, Matt and George. Thank you for being with us today. And we're looking forward to your input. Just as a reminder, those who are watching, please feel free to put in comments, put in questions you may have. We'll try to address as many of them as we can. And just to note, at the end of this, we're going to put a resource of some of the things George and Matt are sharing, also as part of this conversation that you can pull from later on. So to start off with, again, welcome, George and Matt. Can you maybe, Matt, take a minute and just tell us a little bit about the Arab American Museum that's in Dearborn, Michigan?
Sure thing, Natalie. Thanks for having us. We're really excited to share with people the things that we have at the museum that might help them in their quest to learn more about their Arab American families. So the Arab American National Museum has been around for 18 years. And as you said, it's located in Dearborn, Michigan. It is the only museum in the country dedicated to telling the Arab American story. And we serve as a touchstone that connects communities to Arab American culture and experiences. And we do a lot of that through our archive, our library, and our collections, which is what George and I will be talking about today.
Great. Thank you so much. And having visited it, it is really a remarkable place. And I know you're continuing to grow your collections over there. Let's not spend a lot of other time. I know people are excited to hear about these resources. So George, maybe you want to start us off, or Matt, and start talking a little bit about what kind of resources can we find about people once they've arrived here in the United States? What kind of records can we find out about them? And what can they tell us about these individuals?
Sure, I'll start off. And I'm going to take everybody through the collections of the Arab American National Museum. And then George will also talk about his work as a community historian and what that means for our collections. So right here, you should be looking at the homepage for our museum. And the way to get to the collections that I'm going to talk more about is you go to Learn, and then Collections and Research. And then it pulls up our 3 main collections, which are object collections, which is all of our 3-dimensional objects and some photographs and other materials. Our special collections and archive, which has all of our large family collections, manuscript collections, and you can listen to and watch many of our oral histories. And then our library and research materials. So I'm going to start off in our object collection. This is a great place to start if you just want to kind of poke around and see what we have and what you might be able to find on, the communities you're trying to research or the people you're trying to research. So you can do a keyword search of somebody's last name. You can search for a city. For instance, if you're trying to find people that lived in Chicago, or you want to learn more about what the Chicago Arab American experience might be like, you can search that. And so here we have 76 results. We have some booklets, we have a cookbook, we have some people's passports, some ID cards, other objects that people have donated that tell about the Arab American experience. And then, of course, lots of family photographs. And you can click on the photographs, and many of the photographs have a lot of more information here about who's in the picture, where did they come from. So you never know the kind of connections you might be able to make for the own research you're trying to do just by finding, the information about the folks. While you're in here, you might say, I want to hear more about Palestine, or find more things about Palestine. So you can use that search, and you can see we have 69 archive records, 65 object records, and you can really just spend a lot of time clicking around in here, maybe trying to find something or somebody that might speak to your own experience or really who you're trying to tell a story of. So I just wanted to give an idea about the objects that we have, and they range. And again, everything in here has been donated by our community. So these are all objects that people of Arab descent all across the country over the last 20 years of the museum's existence have donated these things to make sure that their story and their families' information is available for the public. So I'll pass it off to George to talk about our special collections.
Just really, just a quick question, Matt, too. So I love these objects because they tell part of the story of who that person is or who that community is too. But if people have objects, can they contact the museum and also donate them to this collection?
Absolutely. Right here on that same page, you can email our curatorial department at curatorial@accesscommunity.org. We're always looking to talk to folks about the kinds of things they might have. What we're most interested in are things that tell stories of families and people coming from countries that we might not have a lot of information about. So if you have something unique to share, whether it's a photograph or a document or something from a store or a restaurant that somebody might have owned, yes, we'd be happy to take a look at that.
That would be great, because sometimes people don't know what to do with those things, and it would be great if it's preserved for others to see. Thank you.
Awesome. So thank you again, Natalie, for having us, for having Matt and I from the Arab American National Museum. So as Natalie mentioned earlier, I am one of the community historians at the museum, and community history is one of the most important roles that anyone can have at the museum, because basically we have to be the know-it-alls at the museum. We have to know, I like to do who, what, where, when, why. Like, who are the Arab Americans? What are they doing here? Where did they come from? Who are they and why are they here? And one of the best ways that we can find out why is through our oral history program. And that is what we mainly focus on as community historians at the museum. So what we do sometimes is we will go to different Arab American communities in the US. We'll go do research. We'll meet with community leaders. We'll meet with, just regular Arab Americans. We'll ask, why are you there? How did you get here? And what makes this community so special? And we get to document these through oral histories, and we find out everything like I just mentioned. So as you can see in the screen in front of you, you can see entire collections that we have that were donated by individuals that tell their individual story. And one that we want to show you is the Rosemary Hakim collection. So Matt, if you don't mind clicking on that for me, please. So Rosemary Hakim was quite the incredible individual. She was Miss Lebanon USA in 1954. She acted as kind of she worked in the Arab States delegation with the United Nations in the 1950s. Fun fact, she had a relationship with one of the Saudi princes. And as you can see here, she chronicled her life through written notes, journals, and unfinished memoir and photo albums. So you can see there's the prince right there, quite a handsome guy. They made a lovely couple. So you can see things like this that makes an individual pop. You see stories about themselves. You don't just see a story about just the broad Arab American person. You see who they are as an individual and what makes us as a people so entirely rich in our history and our culture. So this is a letter from the prince. If you guys want to find out more about what he said and what they said, I guess you can pop this up and read it.
Is it mushy?
You know what? I haven't read it myself, but I'll have to. But yeah, as you can see, there's a ton. We have so many documents and we have so many collections. And it's quite an extravagant thing that we have going on here. And just like you can see, there's a ton. We have pages of it, and you can see what makes each Arab American individual who they are.
Now, George, how do you, I don't know, do you select people to include in the collection? How do you come about for these, like, how are these collections gathered and these stories gathered?
Yeah, so a lot of times, so specifically a collection like this, somebody will come, you know, like whether they're in their older age or a family member will come if this person has passed on, and they want to preserve as much of their family's histories as they can.
Okay.
So, you know, they'll try to donate as much as they can. We'll have to go through it, see what kind of photos they have, what kind of books they have, just to see the kind of things that they want included in there. So, I mean, it's pretty easy. Just like Matt said, you can email that curatorial@accesscommunity.org, and we can kind of see what we have through there. Or you're able to contact the community historians at the museum, and you can like get to know us. We'll get to know you and see what your whole family's about and how we can get this going.
And then as somebody who's looking for my family, for example, is there a way for me, if I was to put in, you know, my last name, Bahuth, like, would it take me through some of these items? Are they cataloged or indexed in some way? Or is there a different way I'd have to kind of research it?
So it honestly just depends because just kind of like Matt said, we are one of a kind.
Okay.
And not everybody has, you know, donated their old history, and we're working as the community historians to kind of grow that capacity to where if you want to look about your family, we may have something about your family.
Okay.
Yes.
So initially, you know, it's probably helpful to have a little bit of context. For example, if I'd known that I have a relative that was somehow associated with Rosemary Hakim, I could maybe look through those records and see if that relative is, you know,
Definitely.
mentioned in some of her memoirs.
Definitely. Yeah. So if you can see in our advanced search, you can just type your name or type in the last name, type in, you know, whoever's collection we have, and you can actually see if we have anything or anything remotely close.
Okay,
But anything that we would have would pop up on the screen right here.
Yeah, that's great. That's really helpful, just because sometimes, as fun as it is to kind of go down the rabbit hole, you know, as we start looking through websites, you know, it's like nice to be able to kind of quickly search too as well.
Of course, of course. And I encourage everyone to, or every Arab American, like if they have an interest in preserving their family history, set up some kind of a meeting with us and try to get a collection with us. Because I mean, if you don't know who they are, we're not going to know who they are. And we want to amplify and uplift their story.
Yeah. So one of the questions we received too is, what's the latest year that's donatable? How soon? You know, I'm thinking, like, do you take it like there's somebody like more recent records, I guess?
Yeah, we actively collect anything of importance or that tells the experience of the Arab American community. So things that happened this week, you know, it's worth collecting. Just, we have a lot of old stuff, but not everything needs to be old to be an important item for a museum to hold. So we're always collecting. Of course, we can't take everything. We have a very limited storage capacity. But if you suggest something to us that, you know, we can't handle, we work with a lot of other archives and museums and libraries, and we can always suggest another repository that might be a good option for the material as well.
Okay. And also, are the sources associated with information? So, for example, it's I guess the word, like, all I can think of the word is bibliography, but is the source noted in there? So like where this information came from?
Yes. So especially in the object search, anytime we have an object, it will say who donated it or where it came from. The provenance is almost always recorded. And for our collections here, there's usually a little scope or content note that tells you how we came about the collection and where they came from.
Perfect. Great. Thank you.
Awesome. And then, so we wanted to just give you just a small example of some of the work that we do as, community historians, is where we actually conduct the oral histories. And so, Matt, did we want to pop that up now, or?
Sure. Yeah. If you want to introduce that.
Awesome. So you can see here, this is an interview that I conducted through Zoom. And just so you know, I think that was kind of a question earlier, what was the latest year that is donatable? So at the museum, as you know, like the Arab American community is one that has been continuous and it's still growing. So we don't just interview people that, were first generation, second, third, fourth, fifth generation. We interview people that were recent immigrants, or they just came here within the last, maybe, who knows, maybe they came a day ago. But this one that we have, her name is Yara Fadil Schilling. She was a recent immigrant. So Matt, we're just going to play a little bit. It's about 30 seconds to a minute of her story, just so you can kind of get a glimpse of what the kind of questions we might ask and how those being interviewed might respond.
I feel like home can be defined in many different places and feelings and things. There's no one, for those who are lucky enough to have one definition of home, you're really lucky, because a lot of us don't have that. I think what we're looking for is that feeling of belonging. I never felt like I belonged in Amman. Now that I've exiled, do I fully feel like I belong in Chicago? No. Parts of me belong in Chicago, and parts of me will forever belong in Amman. And that anger I had and that disappointment and sadness I had for being an exiled person, although not directly in Jordan, has translated due to distance to that nostalgia and that belonging. And so I think it's that search of belonging. And that is a very personal journey. You have to define for yourself where you belong and what that looks like. And I can't say, what I will say is that it's a journey, not a destination. And it took me a long time to accept that, because I'm a very impatient person. But it's truly about the journey.
Love that. That's great.
Yeah, thank you, George. So I'm going to show one more of our databases, and then we'll talk about some really exciting documents that I think, if you're interested in researching your family's history in the U.S., these will be helpful for you, hopefully. So you can search our library collection. Our library has the most comprehensive collection of materials by and about Arab Americans anywhere in the country. And you can find our finding aids for our archives here. You can search some of our special collections in the library, but you can really search all of our books. And if you can search for a name, we have a lot of things like we have old church directories and things like that. We have community cookbooks from all kinds of different churches and mosques and women's clubs across the country. You can search by topic. You can really search just about everything. Now, most of these are not full text available online. You would have to come to the museum, spend some time in Dearborn going through these materials. Some of them might be available at libraries near you. Some are quite rare. There's only a few copies in the country, and we're lucky enough to have one. So the library really is a wonderful space to see, general histories. Like, for instance, we have some of these books. We have there's a book of the Malouf family. It's like a huge tome, and you might have seen it if you've ever done any research in the community. And I think it might actually spell it with a U. Yes, one of these huge books here. A history of the Malouf people. It's basically like a massive multi-hundred-page family tree. So we have things like that. Of course, you'd have to come in to see them, but at least searching through our catalog, it might spark your interest in going to other libraries that also might have them. Also held within our library and archive are this set of documents, which the link to this collection of documents is included in the PDF that the Family Search folks have put together with all of the links from today. But some of my, probably my favorite piece in here is this Syrian American directory from 1908 or 1909. George, you want to talk a little bit about this one?
Yeah, so just like Matt said, this is a Syrian business directory from 1908 to 1909. And what this basically shows is it's literally a directory of every Arab American, mainly Syrian at the time, as that's how most people were recognized themselves as Syrian Americans. You can see cities and businesses that were located there, and you see them both translated in English and in Arabic. So anybody who's not able to read the other can see what's available in any other city that they're in, so they can find whatever resources that they need. If you need dry goods, if you need tailoring, if you need to, grocery shop, you can find anything that's available in there, even groceries, bakeries, anything. And like you can see, we have Alabama, cities like Birmingham, and things like that. And it goes through almost all of the states. I don't know if does it go through all 50 states, Matt?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Okay, maybe not 50 because we don't have all 50 states by 1909.
And what's and like George is saying, what's really cool about this directory is in Arabic, it'll have the village that the folks came from. So if you know what village you're looking for, you can scroll through here and find other people from that village, start making connections. It has how their name is spelled in Arabic, which, as you know, if you do this kind of research, the English spellings doesn't always give you a sense of what it might look like spelled out in Arabic. So this document is really useful. This isn't a proprietary document. We're not the only people that have this. We just have it as a PDF, so anyone can download this and use it in their research. We also have other ones like this is the Pacific Syrian American Guide, similar to that other one. This is from 1937. So this is all of the people who are self-identified as Lebanese or Syrian living in California, New Mexico, Nevada, Oregon, Texas in the 1930s. And so it's got, you can see in the table of contents, all the different states. So this one's really exciting as well. Probably the most unique one and one of the most comprehensive is this Dr. Abdu's Travels. So this is a massive document. It might not open in the preview here. Yeah, too large to open. But this one is not just USA. It's basically all of the Americas that you can go, and there's business directories from 1907 of folks all over North and South America. It's in Arabic and it's in English. It also has some history. It's a fantastic document, and I think these kinds of documents are often overlooked. But I've found my own family in the 1909 directory, and it says, what village they came from in Amun, Lebanon. It has the address for my great-grandfather's dry goods store in Johnstown, Pennsylvania. So, it's pretty fun and exciting when you come across these documents. So
that's really great. I love that some of them have pictures too. Number one, that there's Arabic and English is also a big help for some of us who maybe struggle with our own, with Arabic. It's nice to have a little bit of both, but the pictures, I love the pictures. I think it just adds so much more richness to that information too.
I wanted to mention, if it's okay, I saw that there was a question or there was a comment saying that somebody had great grandparents that came from Palestine and they lived in El Salvador, but it's hard to find. So fun fact, in Dr. Abdu's travel, there is a part where he mentions South America. So that might actually be in there. Or one resource that we haven't mentioned is Family Search itself. You're able to find any document on there as well. So if there's any trouble that you had, if we don't have it for whatever reason, you can also look there too. And they have, ship manifests. That's how I found my family. We found ship manifests. We found World War I registration cards. And yeah.
Thank you, George. No, that's great. Yeah, I really appreciate you mentioning that. And I was thinking, I was going to ask you about, would it potentially mention it, Dr. Abdu's travel guide too. And in the future, we're also going to continue to do some other podcasts about like finding relatives who may have come through Latin America and then eventually immigrated to the States. So yeah, I love that people are asking about that too. We also got a question too, kind of going back to the oral history part about who do you select to interview for the oral histories? Is it like, do you have a certain kind of person? Can people volunteer? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, so I'll talk about that a little bit. So a lot of times it's kind of through referral. I'll get some emails from Matt that have names of people for me to research. We have different, Arab American sports teams that have members that are, Arab American roots or actors or anything like that. But also a lot of it is just through connection myself. I'll reach out to different Arab Americans and I kind of like bug them enough to where they will give me their story. But really, there is no qualification to do an oral history. Every single individual has their own unique story, and that is a part of the bigger Arab American story that needs preservation because we are a diverse people. We have an incredible culture, and while we are all Arabs, we all have our own way that we look at things or how we see life or our own experiences and things like that. So really, I guess the only qualification is that you would just need to be Arab American to have an interview with the Arab American National
Yeah.
Museum.
No, I think that's great. And I love that how you said, the who, what, where, how, and why, those questions. And I think even for us to record our own history, with all the technology today, I think to even kind of ask yourself those questions is helpful too, and record it and save it for others to hear, your posterity, or interview your parents and grandparents, other people who are around you. It's such an important, the story, it's really about the story. And I feel like those resources, so you talked about the objects collection, and then you've got the other special collection that has both oral histories as well as people's stories, right, they've shared with you. And then the book collection was another one. And then the directories and other documents that you have. Those are the 4 different kinds of resources that by going to the Arab American Museum website, as you showed us, Matt, people can look for those things and dig a little bit deeper to find more of their own family story, or even others, right? Their community. I think the community is a big part of it as well. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing those with us. We really appreciate it. We really appreciate too the people who made comments and asked questions about what's available. This webcast will be available on our Facebook page for a while too. We know other people will be watching it, and I'm sure we will get other questions. So if you don't mind, we'll probably reach back out to you to be like, okay, what about this? And what about that? But we really appreciate you taking your time to share these with us. We're very excited about the work that you're doing. It really does. It's the Arab American community has such a rich history here in the States. And that documentation is so important. And then, just a reminder to everybody that we will be putting a resource in the chat of links to the various collections that Matt and George have shared. We'll, of course, put some resources for Family Search and a couple of others. And please stay in touch and let us know what we can do to help you find your family history and enjoy the richness of your history. And I'll probably be reaching out to you guys with some oral history suggestions, not me, but others. So thank you again for your time. We really appreciate it, and have a great day and a great evening, everyone.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.